Isaiah chapter 30, verses 1 through 3. Ah, stubborn children, declares the Lord, who carry out a plan, but not mine, and who make an alliance, but not of my spirit, that they may add sin to sin, who set out to go down to Egypt without asking for my direction, to take refuge in the protection of Pharaoh and to seek shelter in the shadow of Egypt. Therefore shall the protection of Pharaoh turn to your shame, and the shelter in the shadow of Egypt to your humiliation. Many people struggle with making decisions nowadays. It's been that way forever, probably. In particular, I hear Christians ask this question all the time: what is God's will in this? Seeking and following the will of God are paramount in every person's life. However, one of the major problems that people have is that they make plans without seeking the Lord. In this passage of Isaiah, the southern kingdom of Judah, with the threat of an Assyrian invasion, seeks to make an alliance with Egypt. The purpose of this was to gain the power and protection of Egypt, to protect them against the perceived Assyrian threat. The problem was that it was not the Lord's plan for them. And in taking this action without seeking the Lord, they demonstrated their lack of faith. They did not trust the Lord. And we know that anything that is not of faith is sin. We see several key points in these three verses. First, the plan that they saw was not the Lord's for them. We see that in verse 1. Second, they never sought the Lord for direction, verse 2. And third, their choice that was outside the purpose and plan of God was futile, verse 3. How often do we make the same mistake? How often do we make plans without consulting the Lord? I believe it happens all the time. What are the results of making hasty and man-made choices? These choices often result in futility, struggle, and failure. And the interesting thing is this: it is not until these choices turn sour that we will seek the Lord. Then we will call upon the Lord to get us out of a mess that He did not plan for us in the first place. So how do we make better choices? First, we need to seek the Lord. Our spiritual life needs to be on track with Him. We really cannot expect to hear from God if we are not walking close to Him. This has to do with the vitality of our Christian experience. And so, do we spend time in Bible study, worship, prayer, and fellowship with other believers? Are we endeavoring to walk by the Spirit and live a Spirit-filled life? Second, we must specifically seek to understand God's will in a specific situation as opposed to our own will. This implies that we will wholeheartedly want to do His will and not our own. It means that we must examine our motives in making the choices that we make. Third, we must ask of God. This means prayer. He gives wisdom to those who ask Him. James 1:5, we read that. God may speak to us in a variety of ways. However, He primarily will use His Word and the counsel of other mature believers. When you ask for direction, you must combine prayer with seeking the counsel of God's Word. And we do this by personal research and by seeking the counsel of pastors, elders, and other mature Christians who are walking in the Spirit. Fourth, wait upon the Lord for an answer. He will give you clear direction in His perfect time. Remember that anything that is not of faith is sin. Therefore, if you're confused about the choice, continue in the Spirit-filled walk, which you should be doing always anyway, and continue to seek the will of God until you have clarity. Once you have a clear decision, then act upon it by faith.